therapeutic action of different classes of drugs. There, in this, we are going to learn in a periodical manner where drugs, how they come into the action. So when mankind is started, when we say when you go back to the 15th century or 16th century, are there these many drugs during those days? No. Still there was a system of medicine and in practice, but these many drugs were not available. So because of that, people used to die because of so many diseases like syphilis, so many diseases, even what is that, TB, tuberculosis, smallpox, chicken, there are different types. Even acidity, gastritis problem also was one of the major problem of death. Yes. So all these drugs, how they come into the market, how they are invented. Yes, chronological order we are going to learn, that year wise how and when they are introduced into the science. So antacids, antihistamines, neurologically active drugs. So neurologically active drugs are very important class of drugs where they are going to tranquilize. So nowadays most of the science or most of the people are suffering with depression. Yes, so irritability and high blood pressure and like that. So these drugs are going to act on that particular problems. Antimicrobials, yes, antibiotics. So this is a major topic where most of the chemicals, most of the drugs are introduced into the antibiotics. Yes, antiseptics and disinfectants and anti-fertility drugs. We are going to learn in detail one by one. Let us see antacids. So what is the requirement of antacids? Where acid is produced in our body? It is very simple. We know that in our body HCl acid is produced by gastric cells in stomach. So this is a stomach. If I take the digestive system, this is a stomach where this gastric stomach will produce HCl. Why this HCl is required? To digest the food. To digest the food. Okay, this is a natural process. Then what happens if you do not take food for long hours? Body doesn't know. The moment time starts, means if it is a lunch hour, as per Pavlov's Bell experiment, after 4 hours, every 4 hours it produces HCl. So the HCl is going to be sufficient to digest the lunch. But imagine you didn't take the lunch. What happens? The entire HCl is going to block this stomach. This HCl is very acid, means it is concentrated and it is going to act on food materials. It is going to destroy, it is going to break, it is going to react with molecules. So it is not going to keep quiet. Though our that stomach will have some mucous membrane which will protect the stomach body from this HCl. But if you do not eat for long hours, or it is repeatedly happens, that mucous membrane also thins and it allows the reaction with gastric stomach. Then that stomach will get wounds. That wounds are nothing but ulcers. So with that ulcers also people were used to die. Then what to do? So we know, being a chemist, you know that there is an acid, what will you do? Just give some base. So when there is excess HCl, what will happen? We will suffer with stomach pain. So school going children commonly say that we are getting stomach pain. So what to do? In olden days or before 1970, doctors used to give sodium bicarbonate. What is sodium bicarbonate? It is baking soda or edible soda. Sodium bicarbonate, it is a base. When it reacts with HCl, it neutralizes. So water, sodium chloride and carbon dioxide. The moment we take sodium bicarbonate, it neutralizes HCl. Yes, it is great invention. We are going to take this sodium bicarbonate and it is going to act on HCl, and we immediately the pain will be relieved. but but our stomach cells, what they will think? Yes, they don't know whether you are taking this sodium bicarbonate as a drug or as a food. They think that yes, the sodium bicarbonate base has come, let us react with that base. To react with that base, it will produce more acid, may produce more acid. So it is the major side effect of sodium bicarbonate. That is why now it is banned to take sodium bicarbonate. It is banned, it is not advisable. The moment you take sodium bicarbonate, you feel some relief, but immediately the pain again increases, because it is going to trigger the secretion of more acid. Then other invention has come. So instead of sodium bicarbonate, other bases also are there. Aluminum hydroxide and magnesium hydroxide. These are metal hydroxides. These metal hydroxides, when taken into the stomach, if there is no HCl, they are not going to disturb anything, because these are not soluble in water. So these are better than sodium bicarbonate. These are not going to disturb any molecule. So these are aluminum hydroxide, and combination with magnesium hydroxide, we will get antacid syrups. Yes, still we are using these antacid syrups. So aluminum hydroxide and magnesium hydroxide syrups. These syrups will react with HCl. So aluminum hydroxide with HCl, what will happen? Aluminum chloride and water. Neutralization takes place, magnesium plus HCl, magnesium chloride and water. But what is happening? These are no doubt better than sodium bicarbonate, and not only that, these are not going to trigger the excess production of HCl, and that is how these are better. But what they are doing? Simply whatever the HCl is there, they are destroying. Okay, but are they going to treat the cause? No, these are not going to treat the cause. So there is a breakthrough invention has taken place during 1970, where it is found that histamine, this is a histamine, what I said at molecular level, this is a histamine which is having imidazole. Histamine, it is produced in our body. This is the chemical which is going to be produced in our body, histamine, and it stimulates the secretion of pepsin and HCl. Yes, so it stimulates, it acts on receptors to produce pepsin, HCl. So it goes and acts on receptor, just now what we have seen at cellular level, and it says to the cells that produce pepsin and HCl. The poor cells goes on produces pepsin and HCl. So how to stop? Then there is an invention where cimetidine found to interact with histamine receptors and decrease the release of acid. So this mimic, so what they will do? So cimetidine, structurally very similar, the shape is going to be very similar. See, this is imidazole, two nitrogens, and this is 5-member ring, and this is side chain like this, it is also like this. So this cimetidine, it is a drug. The common marketed name is Tegament. We will get Tegamet. So it is going to act on the receptors as same as histamine, and it specifically sits on the receptors where this histamine is going to produce pepsin and HCl. Yes, cimetidine is an antihistamine, but it sits in gastric juices producing receptors only. It is not going to sit in other functions. Histamine is going to do other functions also, but this cimetidine is specific to antihistamine as pepsin and HCl. So this sits on the cells which are producing pepsin and HCl. Not only this, so this cimetidine was the largest selling drug during 70s and 80s. After that, new inventions has come where ranitidine, today also we are using ranitidine. It is more better than this cimetidine, but cimetidine also is in market, but ranitidine also is going to be used, and it is came into the market after the cimetidine. Where what is the similarity? It is also going to act similar to this cimetidine. So it is also having 5-membered ring, it is also 5-membered ring, but this ring is known as furan. And this side chain is very similar to this cimetidine, and this side it is NN dimethyl, methyl is there. So according to this, so structure is very important because the shape of molecule, see this is the shape. For example, imagine this is the broadly, we don't know the chemistry, so this is the shape of the molecule. So this is also very nearly similar to the shape, this histamine. This is also very nearly similar to the histamine. That is how these drugs are going to act as antihistamines on gastric juices producing cells. This is how antacids are going to be work. So in this slide, what are the important things? Sodium bicarbonate triggers excess secretion of HCl, so it is not advisable to take. And next, aluminum hydroxide and magnesium hydroxide, these are also known as metal hydroxides, are better than sodium bicarbonate in stopping the acidity, but these two drugs are going to act symptoms or reduce the symptoms, symptomatic. The moment you take aluminum hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, they are going to neutralize the HCl, but they are not going to treat the cause. Then it comes cimetidine and ranitidine. These are going to act as antihistamines. So ranitidine can be given intravenously, intramuscularly, and tablets also available. So if you want immediate action, yes, doctors will prescribe ranitidine injection intravenously. That means you can doctor will give this ranitidine directly into the blood circulation. Yes, so dear all, it is advisable not to take any medicine. What I am going to discuss here, please don't take any medicine on your own. All medicines are poisonous. Unless doctor prescription is there, then only take the medicines. What I am going to discuss is only for the sake of mere understanding the medicine and the structural elucidations and the chemistry behind these drugs. Please do not take in another way, and don't depend on my words and go and take the medicines. Please don't take. All drugs are poisonous. Yes, and the drug quantity also is very, very important. It is a caution. Yes, so please follow this. Yes, my interest is to make you understand what are the drugs, how they are going to act. As a chemist, you must, as a doctor, you must know all these things, right? So if you are a normal viewer, please don't depend on my lecture and don't take on your own. Please follow the doctor's prescription only. Yes, so ranitidine can be given intravenously, intramuscularly, as well as tablets also available. So this is how ranitidine is also a breakthrough in antacids market. Next, antihistamines. So just before this corona effect, most of the times, most of the cases are having allergic asthma. This histamine is not only produces gastric juices, HCl and pepsin. These histamine, the deadly, bloody histamine is going to act as vasodilator. So vasodilator, why it is required? Vasodilator relaxes the walls of fine blood vessels. So this is vascular system. So the histamine dilutes or makes it big. So if it is narrow, the blood is going to, it is difficult to pass the blood. Thick fluid, blood is a thick fluid. So histamine, what it will do? It relaxes, so that vasodilation makes the blood pressure low. So histamine keeps the blood pressure under control. This is one thing. And when it comes to the same histamine, when it goes into lungs and smooth muscles in the bronchi and gut. So bronchi, what it will do? It will contracts, means bronchi alveoli, it is a loose sponge-like molecules will be there. In lungs, sponge-like molecules will be there, cells will be there. So this histamine goes and contracts. So it squeezes, like squeezing, contracts. Because of this, there will be suffocation. There will be Dysapnea means you cannot breathe properly. You will get cough, allergic cough. And not only that, when it comes to nasal layer, nasal place, so this histamine goes and makes congestion. It secretes nasal juices. So this is how this histamine is going to disturb all these things. But naturally, these are all required. These are all required. It has to contract and this has to dilute. It has to contraction and expansion has to be take place in our body. But this histamine production is more. Production is more. Then what to do? You have to give antihistamines, isn't it? So antihistamines, what they will do? So receptors, antihistamines go and sit into the receptor where it will mimic the histamine and it will stop the histamine to enter into the receptor like this. So histamine will not sit into the receptor. What are the antihistamine drugs commonly we use? So antihistamines compete with histamine for binding sites of receptor. For example, bromophenylramine, or the commonly used drug is chlorpheniramine, CPM. If I am correct, Avil tablets. Yes, Avil injection or Avil tablet will get. Avil also can be given intravenously, intramuscular, and tablets also available. So Avil is over-the-counter drug, OTC drug. You can use it as an antihistamine where you will get relief from nasal congestion, some cough, but it will cause some sleep. Right? Bromophenylramine is used in cough syrups, and not only that, terfenadine. Terfenadine is also works as antihistamine. So this is the way antihistamines work and relieves the symptoms of these cough and nasal congestion and other dyspnea and all. So antihistamines, this is how came into the market. Next, neurologically active drugs. What I said at the beginning. So these are very, very important drugs under this. Tranquilizers which makes you happy. So antidepressant drugs are tranquilizers which makes you happy. These drugs makes you happy. So they bring you back into the normal world. And analgesics are of two types, what we are going to discuss. Common analgesics are non-addictive. Addictive means so addiction. So non-narcotic drugs are non-addictive, means there will be no addiction. So you can take whenever the pain is there, you can take the analgesics, and the moment you get relief, there is no need to take the analgesics. Narcotic drugs, yes. So these narcotic drugs are banned in open market. These drugs are only given to the common people with the prescription, whereas non-narcotic drugs, paracetamol, aspirin, yes, you will get OTC, over the counter. Let us see one by one. So neurological active drugs. So in our body, we have learnt in biology, there will be a noradrenaline or norepinephrine. This is the molecule, or this is a chemical produced by adrenaline gland. Adrenal gland will produce this norepinephrine. This is very, very important hormone and neurotransmitter which makes you fight, which keeps you happy, which keeps you active. Yes, this is a neurotransmitter. This is noradrenaline which keeps your body active, happy, everything. But because of any reason, because of some functional problem, because of some reasons, if the concentration or the production or the level of this noradrenaline is below the normal level, then that person suffers with depression. So what will you do? Either you have to give adrenaline itself. Adrenaline, it is very hormone, and adrenaline, noradrenaline you cannot inject, and it is going to be some sports person take adrenaline based drugs. Yes, so it is not advisable. It makes you overactive. So it is not going to work for longer hours, right? So what to do? There are tranquilizers which keeps the noradrenaline into the normal level. So whatever the chemicals which are going to be produced in our body, they are also destroyed in our body. Yes, so the chemical noradrenaline produced, and the function is going to happen if the production takes place, that function or the message passes, then after that this chemical is going to be destroyed by some enzymes. Enzymes will destroy this noradrenaline. Then it is two ways. One is you can give adrenaline in our body, there is noradrenaline is less than the required quantity. Then what you can do? You can give noradrenaline directly into the body, which is overactive and you cannot control the activity of this noradrenaline, and it is banned because you perform overaction, means this your action is not going to be controlled. Then what you can do? You can stop the destruction of this noradrenaline. So most of the tranquilizers will work towards this end, where they will stop the destruction of noradrenaline. How? Yes, competitive inhibition. So tranquilizers, see, this is adrenaline. What is the ring? This is benzene ring, 6-member ring. Here also suppose iproniazide. This is benzene ring, and here 1, 2, 3. This is a side chain, like the same chain, isn't it? So here hydroxy, here O keto group is there, nitrogen. So here nitrogen, instead of CH2 here nitrogen. So this iproniazide looks similar to the noradrenaline. These are synthetic drugs. So these drugs action, these tranquilizer drugs inhibit the enzyme which catalyze the degradation of noradrenaline. So competitively these iproniazide goes and sit into the enzyme where it thinks that this is the noradrenaline. So it destroys that and it keeps, my job is done. So noradrenaline levels goes on increases or will be maintained in a particular level. So for example, iproniazide given in 100 mg, say 100 mg tablet is there. So 100 mg tablet will have, do you know how many millions of molecules are going to be there in that 100 mg? Yes, so millions of molecules are going to be there, iproniazide molecules. So these molecules goes and sits into the enzyme. So the moment the number of molecules completes, you have to take another tablet. So that is how. So in an interval, so sometimes this 100 mg may sufficient to work on that enzymes for 24 hours. Then every 24 hours, every evening or every morning, doctor will prescribe this iproniazide. These drugs affect the message transfer mechanism from nerve to receptor. For example, antidepressant drugs relieves from stress, mental disease, anxiety and irritability. So these and tranquilizers are going to act. Good. Next comes mild tranquilizers. So mild means, so the first one what we have seen, these are very strong antidepressants, but most of the times students and young adults are going to be suffered with this type of depression. Then how to relieve? So there are some chlorodiazepoxide which relieves you from tension. Chlorodiazepoxide will be given by the doctor which relieves the tension. And meprobamate, this is also relieves the tension. See, meprobamate, it is some amino acid or ester. Yes, so this is going to relieve. This is amide, this is also amide. So these simple structures are going to act as drugs, and most of the times drugs are small molecules. I can say most of the times the drugs molecular weight is ranges from 100 to 500 units. So the drugs is not going to be very big molecule. Very few drugs are there with high molecular weight. For example, Taxol. Taxol is going to be anti-cancer drug. Taxol is a high molecular weight drug. Yes. So sometimes noscapine, if I take where I have worked on noscapine, which is anti-cough drug. So which is used in cough syrups. So it is also just 200 to 300 between that. So most of the times drugs are just 100 to 500 units molecular weight containing drugs. So these are small chemicals So meprobate can be used to relieve from tension. And if the patient is suffering with hypertension and depression, the best drug given by doctors is Equanil. Equanil. So Equanil is very similar to meprobamate, but this side, instead of this amide, instead of this chain, there is simple difference. See, this side CH2 CH2 CH3, this side only one methyl. See, simple change, lot of difference with action. So these are going to relieve you from tension and depression. So hypnotic tranquilizers, there are some tranquilizers which can be used for treating hypnotic tranquilizers, where barbituric acids, this is barbituric acid, commonly known as barbituric acid. These barbituric acids, so this is the methylene carbon. This methylene carbon, when substituted with diethyl group, this is diethyl group, this is malonic acid, this is urea, malonic acid, urea is going to give barbituric acid, and this is substituted with diethyl groups, it is veronal. And instead of this ethyl, if I use extra this isopropyl group, it is going to become as amytal. And this, instead of this group, if I substitute it with phenyl ring, it is going to be luminol. These are all the drugs or all the medicines used to treat as hypnotic tranquilizers. Moreover, there are other compounds also there, some other tranquilizers, Valium and serotonin. So Valium, here this is Valium. So I have been worked on these type of medicines where this is, for example, this is glycine, isn't it? So acid, this is amine, amino acid, glycine. This ring can be constructed using glycine. So if I use here methyl group, this is alanine. This is if 1, 2, 3, 4, and what is this? Pyrrole, here acid. This is nothing but amino acid, 5-membered pyrrole and acid, amino acid. This is proline. Proline, when this Valium like compounds attach to proline ring, these are known as PBDs, pyrrolobenzodiazepines, PBDs, where I have been worked on these molecules. So where we prepared first total synthesis of circumdatin H. Yes, so this is how natural products circumdatin H we prepared based on these pyrrolobenzodiazepines. Yes, PBDs, pyrrolobenzodiazepine molecules. And serotonin, other molecule serotonin, this is indole like tetrahydroindole. So it is also ethylamine, it is also going to work as antidepressant. So this is how these drugs are tranquilizers. Very, very important to understand these medicines. And another, once more I am explaining, please don't take any medicine, and anyhow you are not going to get these medicines over the counter. All these medicines requires prescription by a doctor, right? So neurologically active drugs, just now tranquilizers we have seen, neurologically active drugs. So where we get pain, because of some pain we feel pain. How this pain is taking place? So analgesics reduce or abolish pain without causing impairment of consciousness. So these analgesics are going to act on particular sites where these will not make you unconscious. So what happens in our body? There will be prostaglandins. These prostaglandins are going to make or stimulate the inflammation. That inflammation tissue causes pain. So we are going to get pain. It may be because of injuries or without any problem also. Sometimes inflammation takes place and that causes pain. Skeletal pains, especially skeletal pains. So this happens in some people. Then how to treat? Use non-narcotic, that is non-addictive analgesics. When you think about these drugs, it is aspirin. This is aspirin, acetyl salicylic acid. I have explained how to prepare this. How to prepare? This is salicylic acid. Salicylic acid, when you do the acetylation, you are going to get aspirin, isn't it? You are going to get aspirin. This aspirin is used as non-narcotic analgesic. These drugs also known as NSAID, means non-steroid anti-inflammatory drugs. Right. So non-steroid anti-inflammatory drugs are going to work in this manner. Not only this aspirin relieves pain, it can also use to relieve pains and relieve fever and prevents platelet coagulation. Platelet coagulation. So platelets, what is the function of platelets? When some wound or cut takes place, blood goes on oozes, but very soon it goes on stops. It goes to be stopped by means of coagulation of blood. This coagulation takes place because of platelets. So when this wound takes place outside the body, it is better, it is required. But sometimes if the platelet count is more, doctors will make you go for do the platelet count. What is the platelet count? So if the platelets are more than the required amount, what happens? That platelets will coagulate the blood in blood vessels. So blood vessels are, some blood vessels are some very big, means very wide in size, but there are minute blood vessels where the passage of blood is very tough. For example, in brain and heart. For example, heart as a organ will have its own blood vessels, right? So heart also requires some blood to function. Heart pumps the blood, but to work as an organ, it also requires some blood vessels. So that blood vessels are very minute in size. So to pass through that minute size blood vessels, it requires a thin blood. There should not be, number of platelets should be, some average number will be there, that has to be below that number. If the platelet count increases, that causes coagulation, and that coagulation stops the blood circulation to the heart itself, sometimes even brain itself. That coagulation, blood clot takes place. Because of that blood clot, one person will suffer with heart attack or brain stroke. So either brain stroke or heart attack will take place if the platelet count is more than the required. That may be because of any problem, any inherent problems. So to stop these, doctors will prescribe this aspirin. Aspirin not only relieves pain, it also prevents the platelet coagulation. So this platelet coagulation will be prevented by using aspirin. Finds use in prevention of heart attacks. But it is not advisable to give the patients, those who are already suffering with diabetes. Why? Though there will be platelet coagulation is required, but since that patients are already suffering with this sugar problem, if you give this aspirin, and that wound, if they have that gangrene, is not going to be cured, right? Anyhow, that is all different story. Then Anal 6 is paracetamol. It is a serendipity drug where paracetamol came into the market. So it is antipyretic, means it relieves fever and body pains, and relieves from lot of, we don't know how exactly it is going to work, but it relieves, it makes you healthy, or it relieves from different types of, any type of fever can be reduced by use of paracetamol. How to prepare this paracetamol? What is this? Para-acetaminophenol. Para-acetaminophenol. What will you do? Para-hydroxyaniline has to be taken and do the acetylation. You are going to get paracetamol. It is a common laboratory technique to make paracetamol. So this inhibits prostaglandins. And relieves pain, fever. This is how Anal 6 are going to work. Next, narcotic Anal 6. These drugs are going to relieve pain and produce sleep. So these are very, very important, and you will not get on your own. These are not over-the-counter drugs. So these are also known as opiates, and these are restricted medicines. However, they find in use for treating the patients in particular diseases, or to treat the particular symptoms. For example, post-operative pain. If a person undergone some surgery, there will be lot of pain. To get the relief from that post-operative pain, yes, doctor will give these opiates. So these are the opiates. You can read the names. So cardiac pain, if the heart attack takes place, that patient will get lot of pain, because that heart will cry with pain. So to get relief from that cardiac pain, doctor will give this medicines. And pains of terminal cancer. Terminal cancer, yes, I have explained during the cancer, types of cancers, stages of cancer, what is terminal cancer. So during this stage, it is almost third stage of cancer, patient will suffer with lot of body pains. So how to get treatment, how to get relief? So doctor will give these medicines to get relief from that pain. So these will give the relief from pain, at the same time produce some sleep also. Pains of childbirth. Pains of childbirth. In modern medicine, nowadays doctors are giving pains of childbirth, but it is not advisable to give during the labor pains. Labor pains, childbirth pains are also known as labor pains. It is not advisable to prescribe these medicines for pains of childbirth, because it's a natural process where labor pains are required to give the birth of a child. Anyhow, this is how these drugs are going to act. Next, antimicrobials. Under this category, we are going to learn very important medicines, where antibiotics. Do you know? Antibiotics are going to be three types: broad spectrum antibiotics, narrow spectrum antibiotics, and limited spectrum antibiotics. And there are antiseptics and disinfectants. So nowadays, because of corona, we are all aware about antiseptics and disinfectants. We are all going on using disinfectants, right? So these are going to play a major role in this antimicrobial section. Let us see antimicrobial. What are the antimicrobials available in the market? Yes, antimicrobials, we know diseases in human beings and animals may be caused by a variety of microorganisms. So the diseases may be because of variety of microorganisms. For example, virus, coronavirus, bacteria, fungi, and other pathogens. What are the other pathogens? For example, if I take other pathogens, for example, parasites, like that, helminths. So the drugs what we use to kill or inhibit or prevent the action of these foreign bodies or the microorganisms, the drugs used to kill or prevent or inhibit these microorganisms are categorized like this. Bacteria, if the antibacterial drugs will, what they will do? They work on or they act on bacteria. If fungi, antifungal agents. If virus, antiviral agents. Parasites, antiparasitic drugs. Like this. So drugs or antimicrobials can be divided into different types of antimicrobials. So under this category, we are going to look into antibiotics, antiseptics, and disinfectants. All these are antimicrobials, right? So let us see antibiotics. So before this invention of artemisinin, that is salvarsan, people were used to die because of syphilis. Syphilis is a STD, sexually transmitted disease. Now the time is, this is the time where people are going on dying because of HIV. Though now after this 2005 or 2010, now we have some antiviral drugs of HIV. But during 90s, most of the people used to die because of this HIV. So similarly, during 90s, people, or before 90s, people used to die because of this syphilis. There are very few drugs, or in allopathy system of medicine, there was no medicine to treat this syphilis. So venereal diseases, these are also known as venereal diseases. So Paul Ehrlich, who won the Nobel Prize for the invention of this salvarsan in 1908, developed antibacterial drug. So this is the time where structural elucidation was started. So what is the drug? He has been working on some dyes. So during the preparation of dyes or diazonium compounds, we have learned that diazonium chloride N2Cl, when treated with phenol, gives azo dye. This is azo dye. This azo dye is having nitrogen and nitrogen double bond. And when it comes to artemisinin, salvarsan, it is going to be similar to this azodide structure. And this arsenic, what is arsenic? It is also fifth group element: nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, bismuth. So this nitrogen and arsenic is going to be similarly active, and it is a dimer of this structure, hydroxyamine arsenic. So this is a dimer of this, and it excellently worked on syphilis. So syphilis is this, as Salvarsan worked on syphilis bacteria, and spirochete, this bacteria is known as spirochete. It killed the spirochete. So most of the patients, all patients were started treating syphilis using this Salvarsan. Though during the killing of this syphilis, it is going to have some toxic effect on body also. That is why, so sometimes if you take antibiotics, you are going to get some weakness, some body pains, or sometimes laziness, or sometimes you are going to drying mouth. Everything goes on. But when you compare the importance of treating syphilis and all these side effects, so this drug worked wonderfully in treating syphilis. So he did not stop working on these drugs. Then he started, when he looked into the structure, he started, this is the structure, and this Salvarsan is also having some dye like color. So it is very similar to azo dye, and he started going on working on these azo dyes. So based on this, he again invented a new antibacterial drug. This time this is Prontosil, so which resembles Salvarsan. See, this is nitrogen, double bond nitrogen, and this side amine is amine, and this is hydroxyamine. This Prontosil, when given into the body, it is going to, the active pharmaceutical ingredient API is nothing but this is sulfonamide. This sulfonamide, sulfanilide, is found to be the active compound, which is actually killing the bacteria, which is acting as antibacterial drug. So whatever may be the structure here, just by giving this sulfanilamide, it is going to act as antibiotic. So based on this structural elucidation, number of sulfur drugs came into the market. For example, sulfapyridine. Sulfapyridine came into the market. What is the difference here? Sulfapyridine, in this sulfapyridine, see, this is amine is here, this is benzene is here, sulfonic acid is there, here it is amide is here. Instead of this amide, here what is there? Here in this case sulfanilamide. Sulfanilamide is present. Sulfanilamide is nothing but a pyridine drug. It is a pyridine drug. So sulfapyridine is nothing but it is a sulfapyridine. So this is how he invented another Prontosil. So based on this sulfanilamide, during the introduction of these classification drugs also have given sulfanilamide. So these sulfanilamides breakthrough invention was taken place during 1932, and lot of chemistry has taken place on this sulfanilamide. Most of the antibiotics are sulfur drugs, but these sulfur drugs are not enough to treat all types of bacteria. Then the breakthrough invention took place by Alexander Fleming, the invention of penicillin. Penicillin is one of the breakthrough in modern medicine, where this penicillin was isolated from Penicillium fungus. The general structure of this penicillin, so based on the chemical structure, what we learned is this is lactam, see nitrogen, and this is ketone amide. Cyclic amide is lactam, and sulfur, this is 5-membered sulfur, like this. So the penicillin structure was elucidated, and during 1930s it was isolated, but after 13 years this was able to be synthesized in lab, and it is tested against bacteria, and it is found to be a potent antibacterial drug. where because of this Alexander Fleming got Nobel Prize during 1945. So based on this, so this is, for example, here R is CH2, here CH2, so this is here, just remove this, and CH2, and here phenyl ring, for example this is a phenyl ring, benzene ring. This is ampicillin. So remaining structure is same. Penicillin is natural compound. So synthesis based on this penicillin. So this is penicillin. So when this penicillin is substituted at this CH2, if I use this amine, right? So if it is this only phenyl benzoic acid amide, then it is benzocaine penicillin or penicillin G. Then if I substitute this place with amine, this is phenylalanine, phenyl CH2COH, phenylalanine, then that becomes ampicillin. Ampicillin is a broad spectrum antibiotic, whereas penicillin is a narrow spectrum antibiotic. Ampicillin is a broad spectrum antibiotic. Then with amine, if I substitute this para position with hydroxy, so para hydroxy phenylalanine, para-hydroxy phenylalanine penicillin is amoxicillin. So ampicillin and amoxicillin, these are broad spectrum antibiotics. Penicillin is a narrow spectrum antibiotics. But the problem is, since these are natural products where penicillium drugs, these are coming from fungus, so before introducing or giving to the patients, it is advised or it is required to be tested, the sensitivity test. So what doctor will do, he will take the penicillin drug and little amount, a minute amount, and he will inject subcutaneously just below the skin. They will give the subcutaneous injection and they will wait for some time whether some reaction is going to take place or not. If some reaction against this, so that person is not going to be, penicillin is not going to be given. If no reaction takes place, yes, that can be given to that person. So penicillin sensitive or penicillin not sensitive. So doctor will ask you, if you are sensitive, they will do the sensitive test, then only they will give. Otherwise, so because of this penicillin, it is highly dangerous where patient may die because of taking this penicillin. But though it is deadly poisonous, it is advisable, and this is the only medicine till date also in use to treat rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is going to be treated by giving penicillin. Not only that, it kills gram-negative bacteria. What is gram-negative bacteria? I am going to explain. So these are the antibiotics. Bacteria are of two types. What I am saying? So bacteria is of two types. One is gram-positive and another one is gram-negative. It is not kilograms or grams. Gram is the name of scientist who developed a stain. For example, iodine. For your understanding, I am giving iodine stain. And if the bacteria cell wall is only one layer, this is the bacteria. If it is having only one layer, and just now we learned that the layer is going to have some protein, carbohydrates and lipids, and this iodine when comes and contacts with this bacteria cell wall, it is going to give some color, some blue color. So that bacteria are going to be positive. What bacteria and what is causing is different story. So this single layer containing bacteria are nothing but gram-positive bacteria, and these gram-positive bacteria can be killed very easily by any antibacterial drugs. Because it is single cell wall containing bacteria. So all these antibacterial drugs easily enters into the bacteria and it can kill, isn't it? It is having only one cell wall. But gram-negative bacteria is going to have two cell walls, where this inner cell wall is going to have this carbohydrate and everything. This outer one is like a deadly material, where it is not going to allow foreign bodies enter into inside the body. No. At the same time, this stain also is not going to enter into react with this inner layer. So the bacteria having two layers are very strong bacteria, and they are going to make you diseased. So if you are infected with gram-negative bacteria, you are going to suffer for long time, right? So there are very few medicines are available to get treated or get rid of these gram-negative bacteria. So among them, penicillin is one of the medicine where it specifically acts on this gram-negative. So it is a deadly poisonous where it easily enters into the bacteria and kills. Yes, so these are the medicines, broad spectrum antibiotics. So there are few medicines. For example, this is chloramphenicol. Chloramphenicol is an antibiotic which can be used to treat this gram negative and this gram positive also. So it is also strong. Broad spectrum antibiotic is a strong antibiotic drug where it can kill both it can kill. So in similarly ampicillin. So ampicillin, just what I have given, this amino phenylalanine containing penicillin drug is ampicillin, amoxicillin. These two drugs also are going to kill both types of bacteria. But penicillin is a narrow spectrum antibiotic. Narrow spectrum antibiotic. It kills this only specifically gram negative bacteria. So because of this, it is highly in use till date also. And limited spectrum of antibiotics, for example, what we had discussed in earlier slides. So they act only one specific bacteria. It is not going to act other bacteria. So here gram positive and negative, it is broadly dividing whether it is one layer containing bacteria or two layers containing bacteria. It do not give any specific idea whether it is spirochete or bacillus or E. coli, or there are number of bacteria are there. So if I go on taking the names, there are a number of bacteria, but this gram positive test or negative test is not going to give any idea. But basically just by adding some drop of this stain, yes, if it is gram negative, you are going to get no color, and if it is positive, it is going to give some stain color. So to broadly dividing it, gram positive and negative test is still it is in use, right? So in this slide, it is very important to remember that penicillin is a narrow spectrum antibiotic. Yes, chloramphenicol is a broad spectrum antibiotic. And antibiotics, how they are going to act in our body? So these antibiotics either go and kill the bacteria. That chemicals or that medicines are known as bactericidal, killing. So they kill the bacteria, or static inhibit, means these medicines may inhibit the bacteria to grow or to replicate or to act on the cells, microbes or bacteria, virus. So since we are discussing about bacteria, bactericidal and bacteriostatic. Just now what I said, penicillin is a bactericidal. Yes, it kills. So gram negative bacteria, though it is having two layers, it kills the gram negative bacteria. Aminoglycosides, ofloxacin. Ofloxacin is commonly used medicine by dentists. So dental doctors will prescribe ofloxacin because in oral cavity we'll have different types of bacteria, whether it is gram positive or negative, and this is mild and it is not going to have any side effects. Mild side effects, not no side effects, but there will be no side effects, mild side effects it will have. So ofloxacin, since oral cavity will have sometimes cavities in our teeth, so dentists will prescribe this ofloxacin where that cavity because of any bacteria, gram negative or positive. So this broad spectrum ofloxacin is going to act as a bactericide. It kills the bacteria. So bacteriostatic, chloramphenicol is a bacteriostatic. Though it is a broad spectrum antibiotic, it is bactericidal where it inhibits the action of bacteria. It is not going to kill the bacteria. It is going to inhibit the activity of bacteria, or it is going to inhibit the replication of bacteria. And one more thing is erythromycin. Erythromycin is one of the breakthrough in respiratory RTI, respiratory tract infections. We use erythromycin. It works better. Tetracycline, yes, tetracycline drug also is very important bacteriostatic drug. For example, some drugs, for example, dicydazirine. This is antifungal agent which also works to kill cancer cells. So during its action, it also kills cancer cells. Cancer cells, what I have said, I have made another video, you can watch that. Cancer cells also is nothing but excess growth of cells is cancer. So more than required growth, then it is cancer. Then comes antiseptics and disinfectants. It is crucial to learn what is the difference between antiseptics and disinfectants. So antiseptics, we are all using nowadays Dettol. Dettol is highly selling product now because of this corona, and other antiseptics, that is, yes, antiseptics we have been using, and disinfectants. So totally we are all using disinfectants to keep our environment clean. So what is the difference? See, antiseptics and disinfectants are the chemicals. These are also chemicals, but antiseptics are chemicals which either kill or prevent the growth of microorganisms, isn't it? So antiseptics, the difference is antiseptics are applied to the living tissues or living bodies, and disinfectants are used in inanimate objects like furniture or environment or tables or utensils. So disinfectants make the micro-free objects, right? So antiseptics are applied to the living tissues such as wounds, cuts. So don't take inside. These antiseptics don't take inside. These are not ingestible. Ulcers. So on skin, if you have ulcers, ointments will get diseased skin surfaces. For example, furosin, soframycin. We will get soframycin thulle also, etc. These are not ingested. Don't take inside, right? And as antibiotics, not ingested as antibiotics. Don't take as antibiotic inside. Since it is used, soframycin used outside, so why can't I take inside? Don't take. Soframycin ointment you will get, don't take inside. Okay, this is not going to work, right? So you have been using this Dettol. Have you ever seen what it contains? Yes, commonly used antiseptic Dettol is a mixture of chloroxylenol. This is chloroxylenol. What is chloroxylenol? Yes, chloroxylenol. Dimethyl, this benzene ring. Chloroxylenol, it will have chloroxylenol, and it is phenol. It is going to be antiseptic and disinfectant. And not only that, it will also have this terpineol. This terpineol, it is going to have, this is terpene molecule. This is terpene molecule. Hydroxy is here, double bond, methyl group, cyclohexane ring, having this isopropyl hydroxy group and para this methyl group. Yes, terpineol. Sometimes some soaps also available. Yes, now you are getting advertisement even in television also because of this corona. Soaps also are used as antiseptics. Yes, so use the soap as an antiseptic to treat some ulcers on skin. Yes, some scabies like that. So doctors will advise to use this medicated soap. What medicated soap will contain? So medicated soap will have this bithionol. It is also, see, this side is hydroxy is here, this phenol, and chloro. This is chlorobithionol. This thioether is here. Biphenyl thioether is nothing but bithionol is added to antiseptic soaps. So medicated soaps will have this antiseptic bithionol. You can see on soaps also, you will find the name of this bithionol, right? So not only this, iodine is age-old medicine used as an antiseptic. So tincture of iodine, we will get tincture of iodine. So now you will get some betadine. So I am not sure, I should not take the name betadine. For example, betadine lotion, betadine solution you will get. So this betadine will have tincture of iodine. It is going to act as antiseptic. So what is tincture of iodine? It is nothing but dilute solution. It is just 2%. Means take 2 grams of iodine, weigh it, and add into the solution containing alcohol plus water. Alcohol is here ethanol. Ethanol plus water mixture, and make it solution. You are going to get tincture of iodine. Just if you take the betadine bottle and read on that, it will have 5% iodine in alcohol water. It will give like that. Yes, it is like it will have jaggery color, right? Iodine is a jaggery in color. It will have that color, that brown color, applied on wounds. And not only this, so sometimes you can use iodoform. This is CHI3. Chloroform is CHCl3, iodoform is CHI3. It also used as antiseptic for wounds. And not only this, you might have seen boric acid in dilute aqueous solution, weak antiseptic for eyes. So eye specialist will write these boric acid solutions as antiseptics to eyes. So conjunctivitis, sometimes you may use this boric acid. Disinfectants are applied to inanimate objects. Just know what I said. Disinfectants are used on inanimate objects such as floors, drainage system, instruments, etc. But there are few compounds where you can use, suppose phenol. It can be used as antiseptic, at the same time disinfectant. So when you want to use it as antiseptic on your skin, yes, dilute solution, because your skin is not going to withstand. It is acidic. Phenols are acidic. I have explained, phenols are acidic, right? So phenols are acidic. So 0.2% solution in antiseptic is going to act as antiseptic. So phenol solution can be used as an antiseptic solution, and 1% is disinfectant. So 1% phenol you will get as phenyl, right? So you will get this phenol which is used as disinfectant. Usually you sprayed on floors, drainage systems and instruments to kill these microbes which are poisonous or which are going to be make diseases. So not only that, disinfectants, further examples. So you can use chlorine. Disinfectant chlorine can be used as a disinfectant. For example, chlorine in the percentage of 0.2 ppm, parts per million, means just 2 mg in 1000 ml. 1 liter 2 mg chlorine, just pass chlorine and it is going to act as disinfectant. Not only chlorine, sulfur dioxide in very low concentration also it is going to act as disinfectant. So this is how disinfectants are going to kill the microbes, are going to make the system clean. Next, anti-fertility drugs. Just now we have learned that yes, because of evolution of medicine, because of advent of medicine, the lifespan of people increased. Lifespan of people or human beings increased. So because of this increase of lifespan, population also increased. Because of population growth, some problems arise. Some problems, environmental issues, some jobs issues. So overpopulation is going to take place. Then how to control? Then comes anti-fertility drugs. Use of anti-fertility drugs are required to control the population growth. So there are few drugs which are used to control the population. What are the population? Yes, you can undertake the family planning operations, but most of the times people may not be interested to undergo that operations, so they want to use some anti-fertility drugs. So in normal person, estradiol, which is secreted in female, this estradiol is an hormone which is characteristic. It develops characters of female. At the same time, it maintains menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle is nothing but production of ova in an interval time. Every 28 days, estradiol produces this menstrual cycle. And there is another hormone which is progesterone. It is also hormone. This hormone prepares the uterus for the implantation of fertilized egg. So egg, when it is makes zygote is nothing but a fertilized egg. That fertilized egg has to be implanted in uterus, where it will grow into fetus or baby. So this progesterone take care of preparation of that uterus. So to stop these functions, we require a medicine where it's similar to these compounds and it should act against of these actions. For example, norethindrone. Norethindrone, it is very similar. See, progesterone, all this is very similar, but here it is a stone, acyl group, COCH3, but here Instead of COCH3, it is having hydroxy and acetylene. So this acetylene substitution, these are synthetic drugs. Progesterone synthetic derivative is norethindrone, and estrogen synthetic drug, this is novestrol. This is very similar to, see, this is hydroxy, phenyl, and everything is same, but here instead of hydroxy, here also hydroxy is here, but here it is substituted with acetylene group. This steroid ring system is same, and these are going to, both are used in combination or separately as anti-fertility drugs. So these drugs are going to stop the functioning of this. So being a same progesterone, it mimics the progesterone, but it stops the action of this progesterone action, where it is going to inhibit the action of that cells receptors. So this is how anti-fertility drugs acts in our body. Thank you friends, thank you all, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe my channel Venus Academy if you are not yet subscribed, and don't forget to click on like button and bell button. Bye.